freaking first cut. Golly.
Welcome to the First Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gehman. And I forgot what this is. Round 2 recap for this week's Wyndham Championship. I was going to bring you in first, Greg. I was so excited to bring you in, and I lost track of what round it is. Greg DuCharme, good to see you, bud.
Well, I'm really here, and this really is the second round. And look, I mean, I love doing the second round spot here. I think it's a great time in the tournament for a little recap. So I love doing Friday nights with you, Rick. It always seems like on these episodes, a lot of stuff comes up that ends up resurfacing on Sunday, which is really interesting to me. So I've enjoyed doing these with you.
Yeah, it's very true. Now, we've got a couple of different angles we have to take. We're going to do our regular kind of top of the leaderboard, who could win the Wyndham Championship. But on the other side, we've got all of these huge implications. There are now guys who have officially been eliminated from playoff contention. There are guys who are kind of on the verge of doing some of these, these outside shots of what they needed before the week. We've got some guys playing well. So there's a lot to talk about, Greg. Let's just jump into the top here. It's Russell Henley. As we talk here on this Friday evening, he is still out on the course. He has 4 holes to play, and he has been fairways, greens, and rolling in a bunch of putts all day long. He has extended his lead. He is now, as I speak, 3 shots clear at 13 under par, and he looks great.
He does. He looks really, really solid. You mentioned hitting a lot of fairways. He's at 9 of 12 so far today. He hit 10 yesterday as well. And what's really scary about this, it's scary in my opinion. I'm curious to get yours, Rick. He's not really doing it with his iron play. He's not gaining a lot anyway. He is hitting greens, which is very helpful. He hit 14 yesterday. He's hit 12 through 14 holes today. But where he's really excelling is with the putter. So right now, you think about what we discussed on Monday, how driving accuracy and putting are kind of our 2 highlighted areas. Statistically, those are the 2 areas Russell Henley is doing really well in right now. So he's tied 12th in driving accuracy. He's 2nd in strokes gained putting, and that's a formula for leading the Wyndham.
Yeah, and he's been good this year, right? I mean, he missed the Kentucky Open Championship, which is the last time that he played, right? But he has those 3 consecutive top 20s before the Open Championship, and those actually kind of look worse, right? I mean, he was the 54-hole leader at the U.S. Open before finishing T13. Yeah. I mean, he has played a lot of really good golf this summer, and it would not I don't have any reason to think he's going away anytime soon.
No, one of the better players in the field. He's had a lot of close calls. He's had a lot of experience and contention this year. I was thinking about this earlier today when he started really making his run. We've talked about him on Friday night at least 3 times this year.
Yes, and he's a Friday night staple on this show.
Right. And we don't talk about everybody. We on these recaps, we're really close to the top of the lead, and you may throw a guy from way back in there, someone you think may win. But as for real topics of discussion, we're getting into the guys top 2, 3, 4 guys, top 5 guys max. And he's been in there on a number of occasions, and as the leader a couple times too. So yeah, this is no surprise at all.
The chase pack is at 10 under par. All 3 of those guys are in: Scott Piercy, Webb, Simpson, Rory, Sabatini. Let's talk about Webb Simpson, because it wouldn't be a Wyndham Championship without Webb. He got off to a slow start on Thursday, immediately turned that around, and it was nothing but good vibes for Webb at Sedgefield here on Friday. He made an eagle on 5, a birdie on 6, 2 more birdies at 8 and 9. He did give one back at 17, but when all is said and done, it was a Friday 65, and we are going to go into the weekend with Webb Simpson right at the top of the leaderboard.
Surprise, surprise, surprise.
Surprise.
Webb Simpson at this venue.
It's crazy.
Well, it's crazy. But the other thing is, leading in, this is the first time this year that he's really had a chance to get into a rhythm. It's the first time he's played 2 weeks in a row since Masters to RBC Heritage. That's in April.
Wow.
So it's been a long time. He had that neck injury. He had a bout with the flu. He was sick for I think it was COVID, actually. So
he had COVID. Don't call it the flu, Greg. We're going to get a lot of, there's going to be a big uproar about that.
Yeah, he had COVID. When we spoke to him, he called it the flu at first and then mentioned COVID. So I was copying him. he had COVID-19. And so now he missed, remember Rick, he missed the chance to go play at Congaree. He missed the Wells Fargo
from Quail Hollow. Yeah, that's
right.
like, I mean, you're in a tough place physically, and I think he cited the neck injury for Quail Hollow. When you don't play at the course that you have a house on, like it's a great example of how this summer has gone for Webb.
Right. And he had this opportunity to drive to all these tournaments, and he was so excited about that, and he didn't get to play in any of them. So there hasn't been that opportunity for Webb to really find a rhythm so far this year. And I feel like he played well at the Open, travels back, takes a week off. Now all of a sudden he plays well in Memphis, and here we go again right into Wyndham, where he has just dominated. I mean, it'll sound like I'm joking a little bit, but here, Rick, 65 is like par. If he came out and said this golf course, Sedgefield is just a par 65 for me, you really, I mean, you'd kind of chuckle a little bit, but if he said 66, he'd be right on the money, because his scoring average in the 12 events that he's played, and he's only missed one cut. Okay, so you do the math. He's not missing rounds. His scoring average is 66.6. This says 6.7. My guess is that's 666 repeating. So 66.66 is his scoring average through his entire career here at the Wyndham. And so opening up with 65 is just right on par.
He's like 2 under, or something like that.
Yeah, right. He's just cruising.
Just cruising. The other two guys who are at 10 under, these are some pretty good storylines. Scott Piercy, who started the week number 126 in the FedEx Cup standings. Greg, I'm not sure if you've heard, 125 gets you into the playoffs. So one of our bubble boys who had some work to do. And the other is Rory Sabatini, who, this is a really great, a really interesting storyline. He goes, he was playing horribly. Let's be real. He's playing horribly. He goes to Tokyo. He wins the silver with a scorching Sunday. He comes back to a place that he's got a couple of top 10s at, and he's found the mojo. Now he still has work to do. I believe he needs to finish. There's depending on what other guys do, but basically T6 or better to make sure that he gets into the playoffs. So there is still work to be done for these guys.
Right. If you look at the projection right now for Rory Sabatini, came in 141st, as you mentioned. He would finish 95th if he finished and tied in a three-way tie for second.
Correct.
So you start doing the math on this, and the way the FedEx Cup points work, they reward the really high finishers. Yes. So if you're playing just kind of a mediocre round, there are some really, really, really good examples here. For instance, Sung Jae Im is in tied 21st, and he's lost a spot. He's lost 2 spots. He's projected to. Right. So a T22 doesn't really do you anything. It doesn't do you any good. So there's a lot of risk out there. You have to play well, and these guys have to finish strong. They're in position to do so. And their back is definitely up against the wall for both he and Piercy, because they Scott Piercy as well came in at 126, as you mentioned. A T21 may not get it done for him. It might, because he's so close. It depends on who's ahead of him. But there's a lot of work to be done. They really got to finish strong over these next 2 rounds under a lot of pressure.
At minimum, leading into the week, Scott Piercy needed a 34th place finish. Now, that is also very dependent on what other guys around him have done. So at minimum, he needs a 34th. He is well below that. And as mentioned, Sabatini needs something closer to a 6th place finish. Greg, I want to talk more about the guys, because we already have some that are out, and we've got some that still need to do some work. I want to look at the betting board from our friends over at Caesars, but first, we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners. And we're back. Caesars Sportsbook has not Webb Simpson, but Russell Henley as the favorite, which makes sense. He's 3 shots clear with a couple of holes to play here on a Friday evening. Greg, he is plus 200 with Webb at plus 350. So almost called him William Hill. Caesars has 2 golfers that are shorter than 12-1, because the next shortest odds are Rory Sabatini at 12-1.
Which it makes total sense, right? You have the front runner, and you have the front runner coming in. The guy whose tournament this is, who's He's at 10 under right now. If he plays to his average, he probably finishes at 17 under par. So he's going to be a factor. Webb's going to be a factor. And Russell Henley, with all of his recent experience, is going to be a factor here. So unfortunately, those are the two guys that I really like. You're just not getting great numbers on them. You're not getting great odds on them. So who are some of the other guys who can give you a run? Justin Rose is a really interesting case to me right now. And coming into the week, I was not very high on Justin Rose at all. I said if he plays well, it's out of sheer willpower, which he has the ability to do, and he's shown it in the past. But what I love that Justin Rose is doing this week, that in the past 2 or 3 years, every event that he's really contended in, it's all been because of short game and putting. And so far this week, Justin Rose is tied second strokes gained approach the green, and his around the green stuff is he's slightly gaining around the green. He's slightly gaining on the greens. He hasn't done anything crazy with the flat stick. So I don't know about you, Rick, but he would be a long shot that I would really a longer shot that I would really take a serious look at.
Yeah, so there's 3 for me. One of them was Justin Rose. He's 14-1. He's, as Greg mentioned, second in the field in strokes gained approach. That is kind of different than the way he has been doing it, in a much more encouraging sign. I don't mind Rory Sabatini at 12. I think we might have a situation where you have a guy who's found something, who's got the hot hand, who knows he needs to finish very highly, and he's played well here before. I don't mind that at all. The one that's kind of the model, or a little bit further, is Kevin Streelman. And Streelman is 25-1. He is only 2 shots back of second right now. So a lot will depend on how far Henley kind of extends and how he plays on the weekend. But Streelman is, let's see, he is ball striking the absolute heck out of it. He is gaining over 3 strokes off the tee. That's one of the best players in the field. He's gaining strokes on approach. His putter has been good. If he can ride that for 2 more rounds, I wouldn't mind it. So those 3, Sabatini, Rose, and Streelman, are the 3 that I'm feeling from further down the board.
And would you add the other Kevin in there? I mean, we had our Kevin talk on Monday. Kevin Na sitting right there. Kevin Na to me has just win equity. He has the ability to go, and you feel like he can go out and shoot 62 tomorrow. He's at 6 under right now. And he's not hitting. I guess he's hitting it pretty well. He's hitting it well today with his irons. So he would be another guy I would look at. But I told you, Rick, the Kevins were coming to play.
There is a 4th Kevin in this field, Greg, that we did not talk about this week. Do you know who it is?
So it was Na, Streelman, Kisner.
Those were the 3 we talked about.
Those were the 3 we talked about. Who is the other? I don't know.
Kevin Tway.
Oh, I didn't know he was playing. I didn't see him at all.
I would not have gotten that. I just searched Kevin.
He didn't fit into the conversation.
I did a Control F on Kevin. That's how I found him. Yeah. So here's what we've got. We're through 2 rounds. So we've made a cut. We have a situation where we have some of these playoff scenarios. Thank you. Determined. And it's Rickie Fowler, who is going to be on the outside looking in. There we go. We're going to hit them all right now. He started the week 130th, Greg. His missed cut, thanks to a 3 over score through 2 rounds, already puts him in 135th, and there's no way for him to make this up. So Rickie Fowler is going to fail to make the playoffs for, I think it was for the first time in his career. Is that right? I'll look that up. But
that sounds right.
He's out.
Yeah, it's extremely disappointing for me, partly because he didn't play the Barracuda, and it just puts so much pressure on one. Mm-hmm. It puts so much pressure on one event, and it brings up questions I don't even want to ask about him. So I was looking at Rickie as a guy heading in the right direction. I thought he was a guy who needed reps. He seemed like a guy who was playing where it was one bad round that was holding him back from real contention in every tournament. I mean, it was like 10 tournaments in a row, 8 of 10 tournaments or something, where he had a round of 75 or higher, and he was making the cut for the most part. And so I thought Rickie was close. That's usually a sign to me that a guy is ready technically, or really close to ready technically, and they need tournament reps. They need to be in the heat of battle. They need to learn how to play. And that's when you start playing golf, not golf swing. And you have to play in order to improve in that aspect. You can't do that on the range. So I thought he needed reps. I thought he should have played Barracuda. And he could have, maybe his game just isn't ready. And maybe it's not where I thought it was. And I guess we're going to find out in about a month.
Yes, it is the first time he has missed the playoffs in his career. I just confirmed that 2009 was the last time there was a FedEx Cup playoffs without Rickie Fowler in it. Francesco Molinari also on the outside looking in, but he played 14 times this season. I'm just going to pass that up. We'll go to some other guys here. Tommy Fleetwood still has a shot. Whether it is, it's a pretty good shot. He is tied 22 as we speak on this Friday evening with a couple of guys still to play a hole or two. He needs to finish inside the top 10. So Tommy Fleetwood has at least positioned himself, Greg, to try to make a run over the final 36. Yeah.
And, he's hanging around with putting, which is very unlike Tommy Fleetwood right now. He's 18th, 18th through 2 rounds. Today wasn't as good a putting day as yesterday. He had made 120 feet of putts yesterday. So he putted really well. He's hit a lot of greens of regulation, which is really nice, although he hasn't given himself the birdie look. So I would say he has a pretty good chance. He needs a hot round. The 66 yesterday, he made some birdie. He made a couple too many mistakes. He made a couple too many mistakes today. That the back 9, I think it was his first 9, but the back 9 was a little disappointing. 2 bogeys in the last 4 holes. So he's got to clean that kind of stuff up. But I think Tommy Fleetwood has a real chance of making the playoffs.
Yeah, making bogey on 15 is like losing 2 shots to the field. That's tough to do.
And that's kind of been like the story of his year.
Yeah. Hasn't been great. Two final guys here. Adam Scott, Justin Rose. Adam Scott is, as of this moment, doing a good job because he started the week 121st. So he was inside the line. He is currently 124th because he is in T41. He needs to finish inside the top 50. So if it ended right now, he'd be in. Justin Rose, on the other hand, let's see here. Rose needs another good finish. He needs the top 10 as well. And Rosie is currently in a tie for 5th, 1 shot off of second place, 4 shots off the leader, shot a 65 on Saturday to go with his Thursday 66.
So I'll start with Rosie. I feel really good about him because of what we talked about earlier with his iron play. I love his grit, his toughness. I never question whether or not Justin Rose cares. Is Rickie Fowler looking ahead to next season before he tees it up this week? It feels like it. I don't know if that's true or not. With Justin Rose, he is redlining it, to use one of Tiger's terms, every time he tees it up. So I love that about him. You're never going to get him to quit, which is really cool to me. The thing that I worry about when you're dealing with these kind of margins, top 10 in an event like this, you play 1 pedestrian round and it becomes a real stretch. You go shoot 70 tomorrow, even 69, and all of a sudden Sunday becomes an incredibly difficult day. So if I'm Justin Rose, I'm playing right now with my eyes set not on a top 10. I don't want to deal with what he dealt with in 2018 at the Tour Championship, like hanging on for that T5 to win the FedEx Cup. I need to go win this event to put all questions aside.
Our friends over at Data Golf, so I just realized this, they're doing like probabilities to make the FedEx Cup playoffs. They have Rose right at 50%. So this is a coin flip, baby. Let's go. This is going to be a fun weekend.
I understand. That might be a little high. Like that might be a little generous. I think he can do it. But it feels, I don't know where they get that number from. They would know more than me, but it feels like statistically it would be more likely that he wouldn't, based on what he's done throughout the entirety of the year. Because this, I don't know. There's just some real questions about where his game is, but I do love his mental toughness.
We'll see. Lots of things to be played for all weekend long, not just for first or for top 5 or for top 10. Somebody might finish 41st and be celebrating and fist pumping as they leave the scoring tent. So lots of exciting action to come the rest of the way for the Wyndham Championship, and we'll have you covered after each and every round. But for now, let me thank producer Jacob. He does all the hard work behind the scenes. That right there, that's Greg DuCharme. You can find him on Twitter at @TheRealGFD, and you can find me at Rick Ron Good. This has been The First Cut, and we'll catch you next time.